There we go. There we go. All right. I found it. I found where the setting is. I didn't realize there's a setting like right there on the little mini screen where you can choose between XSplit Broadcaster and your webcam. So I had it set to XSplit, but I guess because I recorded a video or something, it put it on XSplit. I don't know why. Oh gosh. Wish I had known that the first time. Now I got to go back to Gab and reset my. Let's see, what am I looking at here? This is the video address. So I got to go edit my video address over here. Give me just a second. There we go. Edit. Oh, give me a. Now Gab's giving me trouble. Cancel editing, yes. Okay, so I have to swipe everything because for some reason when I say edit my post, Gab wipes out my original post and just keeps the picture. So now I have to go back to the live streaming, capture the actual address now, and supplant that. And there we go. Well, that was a pain in the butt. All right, so there were four. Okay, there were 4 people watching before. There's 4 people watching now, so I'm assuming everybody managed to catch up. Oh my gosh, I'm just glad I found the setting for that because that would have driven me insane. Oh, and Andrew Rowland says, it's funny how you reviewed my King of Justice 2 and then Morningstar because me and Frost Comics are buddies. Well, good. Yeah, I mean, I got, it's actually, let's see, Frost Comics sent me a chat a while back, and I guess things have just piled up to the point where I was like, all right, let's hammer these out one after another. Yeah, yeah, Frost Comics was kind of nervous about it too. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want a video or if I just want notes. I'm like, it's your funeral. LME, hi. Shadowpunk, yes, I came back. Well, I'm glad you came back. Andrew says he was more nervous. Oh goodness me. I was wondering if Dave was going to go into the whole review on his channel, but I guess he found other things to do. Every once in a while, Zombie Boy says that was a good review. Which one, the King of Justice 2 or the Morningstar Chronicles one? Yeah, every once in a while I'll go on Dave's channel. I'll see my face appear, and I'm like, oh, he's going to EFAP my video, and then he gets distracted and goes and does something else. I'm like, oh man. Well, thank you, Zombie Boy. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh, I just got back from the all-you-can-eat sushi place. Oh man, I tell you what, one of the things I've been trying to go, and I say trying, it's like half-ass trying to go on a keto diet because my ass is fat. And you'd have to go on like practically all meat and fat and butter and all that kind of stuff in order to get that stuff going, because basically your body has 2 methods of processing energy. It either processes primarily carbohydrates like potatoes and rice and noodles and stuff like that, starches and sugary foods and things, or your body goes into a state called ketosis, and when it does ketosis, it processes fats. And so what you want to do is you want to switch your body over from the mode of processing carbohydrates to processing fats. But in order to do that, you have to get off of carbohydrates. You have to stop eating pasta, stop eating rice, stop eating potatoes. Basically anything that's a starchy food, you want to get rid of. And speaking of get rid of, let me get rid of some of my internet sessions here because it looks like my camera keeps freezing up. Either that or my stupid computer, which I need to replace very soon, is going to be choking up here. What is going on? I've got like couple of Google Chrome sessions that are just eating my lunch. I bet it's this. I bet it's the Wikipedia one. Yeah, let me get this. Let me get rid of these. Okay, the rest of these should be okay, I think. Okay, there went all that memory, and there goes some of the processing power too. I don't know why. Oh, I guess because Google is also what I'm doing the YouTube stuff on. Well, okay, that makes sense. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and close every session there. Let me close that. Yeah, but this computer has got to. I'm going to have to replace it. And hell, I'll even close calculator and task manager. There, that's the best I can do. Chrome is 666. Yeah, the app of the beast. Okay, so yeah, I mean, in order to get into ketosis, you have to completely cut carbohydrates out of your diet, practically completely. I mean, you could probably go for like 10 or 20, like how much is it? Like below 30 grams of carbohydrates a day. And if you look at like freaking anything in the supermarket, you're looking at practically 20 grams or 38 grams of carbohydrates right there. And so I'm looking at all of these foods I got around the house, and I'm like, well, that's not going to get me into ketosis. Well, that's not going to get me into ketosis. I'm just looking through all these damn things that I bought and realizing, I'm going to have to, eat through all of the non-keto friendly stuff in my house first, and then I'll go ahead and actually try for this ketosis thing. But in the meantime, I am, just basically trying to get myself adjusted to eating meats and other stuff. I mean, loading up on the bacon, loading up on the eggs, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, G33X, almost everything has sugar added to it. No kidding. I mean, and not only that, but there's one of the things that I've always liked is corn. I like to get as a snack. I'll take like corn on the cob, and now I can't have that because that's a starchy vegetable. And then I looked at some of these chilies, and even the chili had like a sugar content to it because of the sauce that's in it. So yeah, I there are times when I'm just going to have no idea what kind of carbs I'm eating, but the other times I'm just going to have to go for some of the more blander foods. I found like 5 packs of lunch meat that were at a reduced price over at Kroger's, and so I was like, I'm all right, I'll take that, and hopefully I don't get botulism or something. And if I do get botulism, I hope it helps me lose weight. LMAE says, my mother does keto. She eats eggs, steaks, nuts, veggies, and a little bit of fruit. The only carb she gets is from a homemade bread she makes from pecan flour and whole wheat flour. Well, since I'm lazy, I'll avoid that last one. But yeah, that's basically what I'm reduced to is just meat, eggs, various kinds of the green leafy veggies and stuff. I don't really go too much for the fruit, although I've got some grapes and what else? Tomatoes. I'll eat tomatoes. She likes to drink coffee with cream. She was able to improve her blood sugar levels. Yeah, that's a good thing too. I generally will drink like Lipton teas, and there are a couple of them that are 0 calories. Now there are other ones that are not, but I figure as long as I limit myself to like one of those in a day, then I probably won't kick myself out of the state. Because that's the hard thing is like they say it's really hard to get into it because you got to like spend 2 to 4 days in just that particular diet, or sometimes you even have to fast in order to get into it. And then once you do, then the objective is you don't eat any carbohydrates, so it won't kick you out. And yeah, apparently my cousin who like was 400 pounds when he died. I mean, he actually had a period of his life when he was really serious and trying to lose weight, and he succeeded to the point of being like 250 at that point. But then he wound up getting into some legal trouble that just really screwed up his life, and then he stopped caring at that. And he was stuck he was stuck at home taking care of his elderly parents, and then just pretty much gave up, and that right up until the point that he died. So and died young, around 60 something, I want to say 65 maybe. He I don't think he had even come close to He may have been only like 62. He might not even have started collecting Social Security at that point. But he just gave up. I mean, I feel bad for him in that respect. I mean, it's terrible to be burdened with that much weight and have to put that much, and also to be burdened with some of the legal difficulties that I mean, granted, he brought it on himself. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that one, but he had such bad luck that he didn't realize his lawyer had died halfway through his proceedings. And nobody told him. I mean, how bad can your luck be to not only be facing charges on something, but then to have your lawyer like die halfway through your case? I mean, that guy. Oh, geez. And then and his brother died early too. So I tell you, I am the last branch in my particular family tree as far as what would be carrying on my family's name, and it ain't going anywhere. It doesn't look like. Oh gosh. G33X says fiber is still important to keep in your diet when doing keto, and when doing the calculation, it subtracts from the carbs. Well, I hope so, because one of the things that I am planning on eating more of is a lot of celery. And from what I understand, it actually consumes more energy to process celery than it does to eat. It consumes more energy to process celery than it gives. So I figure one of the snacks that I've taken to eating is celery with peanut butter. So I figure there's your protein. There's the celery for the fiber and some of the stuff. So that's probably going to be one of my mainstays from here on out. Now, I admit I do get the honey peanut butter from Kroger because I have to have a little flavor in that stuff. I cannot just have it regular. I've tried both crunchy and regular peanut butter from Kroger, and it's no. I need a little bit of sugar in there, or else I just can't bring myself to eat it. Monk fruit is also a commonly used sweetener that doesn't contain the same carbs as sugar or other sources. Generally, what I'll probably be eating in the near future is a lot, or drinking in the near future is Mio. I've got some Mio with the electrolytes because I read online that when you go into ketosis, sometimes it screws up the vitamin levels in your system, and you need to get like magnesium and all this other vitamin stuff in there. So I figure if I get the stuff with the electrolytes in it, then hopefully that'll keep me from having a heart attack or whatever. I don't know exactly how that goes. Oh gosh. The first 3 or 4 days low carb is the worst. Well, I've kind of started talking myself into a mantra of, if I feel hungry, it's working. And that way, Andrew says salmon is really good for the heart. Yeah, well, I just had some today because I went to the sushi place, and the salmon's one of the things that I get. The way they have the seared salmon with the Japanese mayo is one of my favorite plates. I go to one of those places where they have the revolving conveyor belts that has the little plates of sushi, and you're paying by the plate. And one of the things I was trying to tell the manager there was that it would be good if you gave the user on the screen where you're able to order plates for yourself, if you could give the user the ability to say no rice, because there's a lot of people who are out there on a keto diet and they're just going to be piling up rice, on a plate. Shadowpunk, is that where everyone else breathes on your food? No, and here's why. What they do is they put the sushi in these covered plates, and in order for you to you have to like open the cover and pull the plate out of the covering in order to get at it. So basically it just floats by you, and until something passes by you that interests you, and then you have to, kind of open it first, and then the cover pops open and you're able to take it off. So yeah, it is sneeze guarded, if you will. Each one comes in their individual little sneeze guards. Yeah, I do like that place. One of the things I like about it is that they don't care whether you eat the rice or not, and that's something that Uh, some sushi places are really bad about it. They will actually say you have to eat the rice with your all-you-can-eat sushi, or you disqualify yourself from all you can eat. And it's like, I see where they're coming from, but because they don't want to be just cooking up the meat for you. But at the same time, if that's all you want, then then you got to find a place like this place, because when you pay by the plate, which is how it goes, then you will like insert your plate into the slot and it registers, and it doesn't matter whether you ate the rice or not. It doesn't matter whether you ate the meat or not. So long as you inserted the plate, you're going to get charged your $3.45 for that plate of sushi. So yeah, I enjoy that place. I go back there probably once every month, or at least. It's one of my guilty pleasures, because it is kind of expensive. I can eat a ton. I can eat a ton there. My general sushi bill when I go there is like anywhere from between $50 and $70. And it's just my, I don't have that many guilty pleasures. I mean, I certainly don't buy as many comics as I used to do anymore. So I'm not like constantly forking up for stuff. I mean, I do have to make expenditures for getting a new laptop, getting a new desktop. I gotta look into that stuff like real quick, because I wanna try and catch the Black Friday sales. Zombie Boy says all this food is making me hungry, and that's a problem because you ate brains, right? Oh goodness. Now brains, I'm sure, would be keto friendly. They might not be disease friendly as far as that goes. I've heard you should not be eating human brains if at all possible. And of course, I got to get rid of sodas too. And one of my guilty pleasures when I'm at the sushi place is I like to have soda there too. Well, you can't really do that on a keto diet, so I'm only really half-assing the keto at this point. Like I said, I got all this non-keto friendly food in my cupboards, and until I go through that, it's not going to be a true keto diet. So I need to, and unfortunately, one of those things is like a 10-pound bag of rice. So I'm thinking I either have to eat through all of these things, or I need to take them to the food bank. One or the other I will do. But what amazes me is like even soups, just soups that don't even have any noodles in them, they'll contain about 17 grams of carbohydrates. I'm like, where the hell is it coming from? I just don't even know. So getting rid of carbohydrate, I try and find even cans of vegetables. I was looking at cans of tomatoes, and cans of tomatoes had like 5 grams of like added sugar and stuff in there. I'm like, seriously? So of course, people tell me, well, if you go to a brand like Whole Foods, if you go to a brand like, one of the upscale organic brands or something like that, it's like, yeah, I don't want to break the bank at the same time that I'm trying to, break in my metabolism. Oh, goodness. Cowboy Bebop says the seafood diet is the best one. You see food, you eat it. Yeah, that's like the fitness diet. I'm fitting this whole pizza in my mouth. Uh, that's why the reduce calories, increase activity advice is easier to track and maneuver around. Yeah, it is. It's just that I suck so bad at both of those. Try to avoid sugar, no soda. No soda is the best thing that you can possibly do. If you are a soda drinker, and you want to lose weight, cutting out the soda is the best thing that you could possibly do. I think I lost 20 pounds alone at one point just going off soda. And unfortunately, now I think I have a new baseline or something like that. And who knows what my metabolism is doing these days. You might need to make your own soup with fresh tomatoes. Well, the tomatoes I just get kind of as a thing for my omelets and stuff, because I'll make like egg scrambles and things like that. And I'll have bacon with it. I like today. I've got some bacon left over, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to throw it in with some sliced mushrooms I got from Kroger the other day, and I've got cheese, some of the Kroger Mexican cheese or cheddar cheese, and with that maybe some broccoli. I might throw in with that, and then call it good at that point. Although I do have some, no, I was going to say I have some mushrooms, but I just said I was going to throw in the sliced mushrooms. Yeah, I'd probably just go with those and see what happens, because my culinary concoctions are not exactly whoo, it's just basically so mine is the kind of stuff you will eat and then wonder how it is that restaurants are able to make food taste so good, because this doesn't work. Okay, so what did I start? Okay, so what was my topic going to be? Am I a clout chaser? Every once in a while, especially, there's like one or two people who call me that after I've dropped a comment under some Eric July thing or other, some social media or YouTube thing, and I look at that and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm cloud chasing, sure, but you're writing me at the same time, trying to get noticed yourself. Uh, and the problem is that I feel like I almost started down that path, because one of the things that I did just recently, I've held 2 live streams recently, and I call them both bribe streams. And one of them is for Bloodruth #1, and the other one is for Helephant, Wrath of Helephant. So one for Rippaverse, one for Comicsgate. And basically, the idea is, these are not comic books that I'm actually interested in getting and reading myself. I'm not interested in reading Bloodruth. I really have just no desire to read that. I'm not interested in Helephant. I mean, it just sounds to me kind of like a goofy concept, but at the same time, I can imagine it's fun for some people. And Student of God says, I saw Chuck Dixon answer your question. Yeah, he did. He didn't quite answer it fully, but he answered quite a bit of it. I was not surprised to hear that that Rippaverse did not ask for any editorial changes, because I don't find them. I would not think them competent enough to do so. And I didn't want to get into it and say, yeah, I would have asked for a couple of changes there. Yeah, if anyone saw that on the last Ask Chuck Dixon, if you go to Chuck Dixon's channel, low watermark. Thank you very much. Mike money. Well, I've decided that I will eventually get a microphone. I definitely will. But any of the super chat money I'm getting is going to get allocated to those bribe streams, because I figure, So if you want to earmark those $10 for a particular bribe stream, either Bloodruth or Helephant, please do say so. Yeah, and that's for anybody who's interested in super chats or super thanks on any of my previous videos, they're much appreciated, and all that money will go towards the bribe streams for the issues that I'm just not interested in getting myself. But if somebody actually wants me to do these kinds of reviews, then sure, I'll go ahead and do it. And honestly, getting back to the clout chasing thing, I was looking at the last 2 reviews that I did. And if you look at my video page and you look at the number of hits I've got on the last 2 videos, and there's been a weekend here, so it's not like nobody's had the chance to look at these. I've got a total of 218 views on the last 2 review things, which is on Andrew's King of Justice #2, and then on Frost Comics Morningstar Chronicles #1. Now, these are non-Comicsgate, and these are non-Rippaverse. So these are independent titles that don't, follow either of those particular, click paths. And they are getting like a fraction of the views that I can get from either something off of Rippaverse, especially, or something off of Comicsgate, or even something off of somebody who's controversial like John Delarose. John Delarose, I've got a video about some of his early webcomics, and that one's got over 750 views. So it's almost like in order for my review videos to get any kind of traction, they have to be about these controversial figures. They can't just be about this particular comic that, somebody submitted to me. And, even if it's a good comic, and I feel like that's sad. And so I was actually thinking today, I was thinking to myself, well, should I just break down and buy copies of Bloodruth and forget about the whole bribe stream thing and just basically buy the stuff that I think people are going to want to see reviews on, because, getting views is kind of the point. But then I realized, no, then I would be exactly the kind of clout chaser that people accuse me of being. It's like, then I would be the one chasing the clicks. I would be the one who's basically trying to farm in the ad money or whatever it is. And I just don't want to do that. I don't want to go down that road, because then I'm not going to enjoy it. Because I already know that, more likely than not, I will not enjoy reading Bloodruth if I have the opportunity to do that. And as far as Elephant goes, I mean, it's probably going to feel like a waste of money to me, just because I'm not interested in it to begin with. And that's not to say anything about the quality of the books or the reputations of the people. Well, no, in the Saska Sisters, it is about the reputation of the people writing it. But I just don't have the desire for that. And there's so much other stuff in the world to read, that why not just go ahead and read the stuff that's interesting to me, and then I'll report on that, or read the stuff that people submit to me, and I'll report on that, and that should be enough. And it's not like I haven't gone and picked enough Comicsgate stuff up already, and Rippaverse stuff up already. My copy of Horseman #1, my copies of Horseman #1 will be on their way. I'm going to have, let's see, what is it? Aaron Lopresti with his Wrath of God, or Wraith of God 1 through 3. Those are going to be coming my way. John Malin's Godlike 1 and 2. And then when the Dixon verse, which I like to call Chuck Dixon's section of the Rippaverse, when the Dixon verse puts out Zaylan, I'll be getting that. Of course, ISOM #3, whenever the hell that comes out. And probably Norfolk #1, I'm sure. All of these different titles. It's not like I'm not going to be tapping into Rippaverse or Comicsgate. There's going to be Inglorious Rex 2 and 3 from Comicsgate, and John Malin's Graveyard Shift titles as well. I still haven't gotten those in. So there's all sorts of stuff I'm going to be getting that I've actually got an interest in. Why would I go off the beaten path unless other people want me to? Because that's really, I can't just assume that people are going to care about this or that issue. I figured to let them let me know, in the most tangible way possible. But Cowboy Bebop asks, will you review any Ripascend books in the future? I am actually interested in the Golden Patriot one coming from Yellow Flash, because I know, and I have to admit, there are some times that I do have an interest in these titles, largely because I hear them so ill spoken of by other people. Like, for example, why is it that in John Delarose's case, I decided to back Overmind and the Hidden Emperor? Those were, well, the Hidden Emperor was the campaign he had out at the time. So I've got copies of Overmind and his 2 prose books in the Terran Imperium series, and also the Hidden Emperor. So those are the first 2 Ayla written comics. And I got those because Ethan Van Sciver just slammed the guy up and down, saying, you're a terrible writer, your stories suck, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, okay, I got to see for myself now. I have to see, whether this guy is or is not everything he's been claiming himself to be. Because, as John Delarose first came to my attention when he was praising Eric July for ISOM #1, saying, here's an honest professional writer's review of ISOM #1. And then it was just basically a professional ass kiss. But, that led me to look at his Flying Sparks material, which I was like, okay, I can see him making some of the same mistakes as Eric July is in ISOM #1, and you can see just some of the dialogue flubs, little, art flubs, setting flubs, things like that. And then, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't improved. And so, people have been challenging me, saying, well, you need to read his latest stuff. Well, I will, and we'll see how it goes. And yeah, I have to admit, sometimes the way that people get slammed on is what kind of draws me to their books. It's like, okay, is their book really as crap as this person who has not even had the chance to read it says it is? Because those are the people who I feel, really get kicked in the head. Like Eric July got kicked in the head. I mean, I will say that Dick Masterson, when he started out, criticizing Eric July and ISOM #1, he was basically saying, I don't need to read this to know that it's crap. And I'm like, really? Yeah, you do. You have to at least experience it in order to form an opinion of it. Now, your experience of it may match your opinion, but it is totally not fair to be talking crap about a book that you haven't even read and just jumping on the bandwagon of punching down at somebody who's trying to, well, in Derek July's case, it's more like punching up after $3.7 million. But when it comes to evaluating something honestly, you have to read it for yourself, or else you could be just pissing in someone's cornflakes for no reason. Shadowpunk says strippers. Spend the super chat money on strippers. Who publishes that title? Let's see. Student of God said you would be better if you did some Ghost Machine reviews or Energon Universe. Yeah, I don't. Why is it? It's a good question as to why I don't really target my reviews at comics written for the major publishing companies. But the large reason for that is these are well-established creators who are not going to listen to me. It's hard enough sometimes getting people like Ethan Van Sciver or somebody to listen to me. I mean, there are times when he just blows me off entirely for especially when it comes to the art, of course. Now, when it comes to the writing, probably he'd be more receptive to my advice but then there are times when he would, I've given some writing tips and he's just kind of like, I like it the way it is. And I'm just like, okay, fine. The more someone is ensconced in that professional setting, like you're already being published through one of the major things, or you're already established as a major writer or something, the less you're going to take critiques. And even the stuff that I've written about, like the Alpha Core title, when I wrote my reviews on Alpha Core, I'm not really looking at those thinking that Chuck Dixon's going to be watching this stuff, because Chuck Dixon's been around long enough that why is he going to take advice from me? But at the same time, the people over at Rippaverse who haven't got this level of experience, maybe they will look at some of the stuff that comes in and say, oh, I remember from what that Partika guy was saying that you should probably try and adjust the dialogue so that this scene flowing into this scene works a little bit different, and maybe something will catch on over there. So the more time and prestige a person has gained in the comic book world already, and of course you've got, who is it, Joshua Williamson, who's writing the Transformers stuff. I mean, God, that guy's written so much DC stuff already, and yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, the only thing that I have to say about Transformers for the most part anyway is like, this art could be better. I mean, you could have found somebody better to do this art. I don't understand why they would pick somebody whose art has such an organic feel to it to do technological stuff. It just jars to me. Let's see. Student of God says, can't wait for your review of Godlike. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the ones. And just like in the case of comics that have been unduly slammed by other creators, the ones that seem to be unduly puffed up by other creators are the ones that also intrigue me. You know, when I look at Inglorious Rex, when I look at Godlike, and when I look at Graveyard Shift, and I hear so much about these comics, and to hear, you know, this is the best and brightest stuff out there, I'm just kind of, I gotta see for myself. You know, this is gotta be something I scope out for myself so that I can you know, register my own opinion on it. Andrew Rowland says, sad truth is we independents don't get the views like CG or Ripa does because we're not drama farmers. But in reality, CG and Ripa are a very small portion of the comic manga fan base. Yeah. Let's see. Cowboy Bebop says you should check out Cyber Pop Control Theory. Student OG says the new Conan the Barbarian stuff. You know, Conan the Barbarian, I can't get into that. I think I can't get into that because it's set in such a fake history, a fake wannabe realish history that I don't know why. You know, it's not like I got more mileage out of Cerebus the Aardvark than I did out of Conan the Barbarian. I mean, and it's funny because if you look back at the original Cerebus the Aardvark adventures, I mean, it was just basically not even played for laughs. It was an Aardvark as Conan the Barbarian, and that's it. There were no layers upon layers back in the early days of Cerebus the Aardvark. It was just played as exactly the comic that Conan was, but you just had a cartoon aardvark for your hero. And then it started to become more of an epic kind of feel as Dave Sim integrated more of his ideas into that. I used to have all of the phone book stuff, and then what really made me lose interest was when he started going after the Bible. He started like trying to put his own interpretation on the Bible, and it felt like he was trying to communicate like, this is what I actually believe, as opposed to here is what some idiot could come up with if you did things. And I'm not exactly sure which it was he was going for, but I think that based on the notes at the back of the book, if I remember correctly, because he used to have copious notes on practically every issue of Cerebus, that he actually meant what he was writing, and what he was writing was just pretty much gibberish. I mean, some of it was funny, like you know how the name for God in the Old Testament is Yahweh, and that's pronounced Yahweh, even though the four letters that are actually given for the name of God are YHWH. And so Dave Sim said, oh, we have to add vowels in here. How about yoo-hoo? I thought that was hilarious. But then he just spent probably 3 volumes on the pseudo religious stuff up until the end of the Cerebus series of the Cerebus series. It's Cerebus or Cerberus? Yeah, Cerebus. And it just fell flat. It just rang hollow. I'm reading this, and it's all just freaking garbage to the end, and that's so sad because he had such great commentaries on various people's lives and on various social topics. Some of his stuff was like completely patterned after looking at famous writers. Like he had a whole volume on Oscar Wilde. That was his Melmoth volume. And then he had a whole volume patterned after Ernest Hemingway, and another one after F. Scott Fitzgerald. And it was a hell of a series, and then it just went sideways off into religion, and I'm like, screw this. I don't even have any of those books anymore. Cowboy Bebop says, if you don't like that version of Conan, you should check out Savage Avengers. It's Conan in the Marvel Universe. Yeah, I just don't care much for the character himself. I don't think there's anything to Conan other than, here I am, I'm a warrior for hire, and I'm out to just make a fortune and survive my way in the world. And okay, can you give me something more than that? I don't know what. There's no real character growth throughout any of that. Uh, you could tell that week on acid messed with Dave Sims' mind by the schizoness of Cerebus. So I don't know anything about his. I guess what did he do? Take a week long acid trip? I did not. I don't know anything about that, but it wouldn't surprise me because I mean, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of hippie trippy stuff. What's also hippie trippy is I watched Mark Miller's interview with J.M. DeMatteis. And I've read a lot of J.M. DeMatteis stuff, and of course he's largely famous these days for his Justice League work with Kevin Maguire and Keith Giffen. And but he's been around for a long, long time. He wrote a lot of Spider-Man. He wrote Dr. Fate, wrote Doctor Strange. I mean, there's just all sorts of things that the guy wrote. But man, that guy is like way into the Eastern Zen spirituality stuff, and I hear it, and I understand. There's people who took mushrooms and get their visions, and now they're trying to communicate that kind of oneness with everything through whatever their mediums are. But God, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of annoying. I still remember this one time that this guy was trying to pass himself off as some kind of spiritual teacher and stuff. I even bought his book. And I was sitting in a talk by him, and he was like, well, what you have to understand is I am you and you are me. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I put a bullet in your head and I'm still here. Now you can come up with some hippie-dippie-trippie stuff like, yes, but the impact of your having done this action changes you in a way that shows that I was really entwined with you and all this kind of stuff. But it's like, yeah, but I'm still here. And then of course I'm talking with him out in the hallway, and here's the thing that was hilarious was we're both, or I'm talking to him in the hallway, and just kind of looking at the crowd at the same time and stuff, and then this girl walks by who is like hot beyond belief, and I mean, she is just like, oh my God, legs down to there, real short shorts, midriff shirt, walking by, just strolling along like the whole "She Don't Know She's Beautiful" song. And I see her, and of course, but I'm talking to this guy who's like Mr. Spiritual, so I'm just basically looking unfazed. I turn back to look at him, and he's just got this slack-jawed look of lust on his face. He's just like. And I'm like, okay, dude, you do you. I don't, whatever it is you're selling, I obviously don't need any of it. LMA sounds like the god in Full Metal Alchemist. Is that Full Metal Alchemist the regular or Brotherhood? Because I watched the regular version and I don't really remember that. I never watched the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood because I could tell that they got a girl to do the voice of the boy, and I was just like, I can't. For some reason, I can't hack it. I can't hack it when I know that there is a girl doing a boy's voice. That's one of the things that's irritating me about Assassination Classroom, is that the main character not only looks girlish, in fact. Even some of his classmates didn't realize he was a boy. But you could tell that he's voiced by a girl, and I'm just like, ugh. Can you find younger child actors who are somehow accomplished at this stuff? I wonder how hard that is to do, actually, because I mean, like there are some people like I don't know if you recognize the name Justin Briner, who he voices Izuku Midoriya in My Hero Academia, and this guy's got kind of a naturally high voice, and I wonder how many but I wonder how many child actors there are who could actually pull off an anime character, an anime performance. It must not be many, because I don't know of many who accomplish it. Oh, the manga version. I am you and I am everyone. Blah blah blah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I don't know. I would definitely have to do mushrooms before I saw the validity in any kind of philosophy like that. You know, whatever it is they took, I'd have to take some of it. Yeah, I sometimes wonder if I should just basically leave that off till I'm having my end of life crisis, and then go ahead and take the mushrooms and see what it is I've been missing all that time. Uh, Andrew Rowland says Crunchyroll has a very limited amount of voice actors. They basically use the same voice actors for a lot of their dubs. Frog Tony says, "Don't be a clout chaser, Mike. Be a clout catcher." Well, welcome to the stream here. I don't know if I've seen it. Is this the first time you've ever been on one of the live streams here? I can't recall. Oh goodness, yeah. Every once in a while, I'll do a search on my homepage and live, and one of your streams will catch up, and I'll drop in for a little bit. But I usually don't have much to say on those, because I mean, you do a lot of Rippaverse smacking around, and I'm just kind of like, well, I haven't read anything from them lately, so I got nothing to smack them around over. I do need to send one of these days, whenever I see Mike Barron on Ethan Van Sciver's Comicsgate Kings, one of these days I do need to send in a super chat, basically asking if I'm right about my theory on Gooding the Polymath, that they cut his script in half and only published the first half and padded it out. I'd be really curious to see what he says about that. It might be worth dropping some money on just to find out. Oh, Cowboy Bebop. I haven't listened to an anime dub since the industry betrayed Vic Mignogna. Yeah, I mean, I heard. I don't know. I mean, I can watch anime. I don't have loyalties like that. I mean, I do. I mean, honestly, if for some reason he was like, losing his house or something, yeah, I mean, I'd donate to the GoFundMe, just because I thought he turned in such a fantastic performance on the original Full Metal Alchemist that, there are some people who have just delivered such great art to the world that you at least want to help, pay a little something back. Andrew Rowland, we need more people who will promote the smaller guys and not rely on drama. Yeah, well, I mean, I hope that from either your book or and definitely Cargo, and Morningstar Chronicles, I hope they get a little bit of push out of what it is I'm doing. I mean, I have no idea whether or not my reviews have helped or hurt anybody's sales. And I tell you what, it's kind of, especially when you look at like the Comics Gators and stuff, and I comment on one of their things, and if I give a negative review there, I'm like, how badly is that going to reflect on them? I mean, are people just not going to listen to me at all, or are people going to listen to me and say, yeah, well, because I mean, like, what was it? Shane Davis's Inglorious Rex, that got 788 views, and I was not terribly positive on that. I mean, I think I gave it a 5 out of 10, and does that mean that there were 700 people that didn't buy it? Because it might. And, 700 people is quite a lot of backers. So, yeah, I mean, that's the temptation. What was so interesting to me is just the fact that the temptation was there. Just the fact of, oh gosh, if I don't do Bloodruth, then and honestly, I wonder how much of it was just the fact that if I don't get enough to get Bloodruth before the campaign for Bloodruth ends, then I'm not going to get the cover that I would prefer. I'm wondering if that was driving some of it too, because I mean, basically, I'd just be buying a couple of copies of cover D, or maybe if they had copies left of cover A, then I'd be able to get it. Andrew Rowland says, I'm going to be working on my volumes from now on. No more floppies. I barely get any sales from that. Plus, I'll be going to Webtoon to get my audience. Well, that's probably a good idea. I was actually going to mention that in the video, and I think I actually No, I actually did mention that in the video, except I clipped that part out because I wasn't sure whether or not you wanted people to know that. Because I didn't want to be sending people over to your site and then, they go and say, buy my stuff, or with the intent of, if they want to buy your stuff, they can buy your stuff. But since you're saying it here, then I can go ahead and let that on. But I didn't want to reveal that just without permission. Frog Tony says 700 people at $35 a pop might go Shane $25,000. Well, crap. I guess I'm going to have to get really, really good at stock options in the next few weeks because I don't know how I'm going to get that kind of money over to him. Andrew Rowan says the floppies will still be there on my site. It's just to get rid of the inventory. And what did you print out like a large number of those copies, or I don't know how many or what your initial print run was. I don't know how all this stuff works really. Oh goodness. Yeah, Inglorious Rex, and I also got Shane Davis's Starlight Cats. I went when I ordered Inglorious Rex number 3, I ordered a second copy of Starlight Cats so that I could have one of those to cannibalize for scans. But oh, you only got like 10 copies per book in standard and manga size? Okay, well hopefully then you'll be able to get rid of those pretty quick. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Oh gosh, I'm so behind on reading through my old Epic collections of Avengers. That's what I really need to focus on. If I would stop getting distracted by all of the different things that come across on YouTube from a daily basis, because YouTube has become like the bane of my existence as far as time sucks go. When I get up in the morning, there's usually a good, 3 hours of new content that somebody has dropped. And even if I watch at double speed, that's still like an hour and a half out of my day. And then I'm always looking at the stuff on the side to see if there's anything interesting there. And I actually found some interesting stuff there. There's a YouTube site out there that's only been out for about a year called The Force Awakens. And this person, there are all these different Star Wars related sites out there, like Star Wars Theory, and I don't remember some of the other names for them, but this one had information that I'd never seen before, and one of them was some of them were videos with Irving Kershner, who directed The Empire Strikes Back, and I'm probably butchering his name, and George Lucas commenting on that. And one of the things that was really funny to hear was this one video where they were talking about the hardest scene to get was the Han Solo and Princess Leia scene in the freezing chamber. And so they kept trying different lines, and Harrison Ford actually has better clips of him explaining what was going on. But there was a high pressure to get that scene done, because it was lunchtime and everybody wanted to go eat, and it was also in Europe, so they wanted to go drink as well, and everybody wanted to go to lunch. And so finally, the very, very last shot, he just said to Harrison Ford, "Look, just whatever comes into your mind, say that." And that's what Harrison Ford came up with. I know. And apparently, when people saw that in the theaters, they busted out laughing and said, "Oh, that is so Han Solo." And I was too young at the time to really understand that. Because what he basically said was, "What is the last thing a woman wants to hear when she says 'I love you' to a guy?" I know. Oh goodness. Let's see. Will Cowboy Bebop asks, "Will I review Super Killer if it ever comes out?" I don't know. I've seen a couple of scenes from that. I've seen like some art and page samples from that. Doesn't really look like my cup of tea. So I don't know if it's one of those where enough people ask, maybe I'll throw up a bribe stream for that. I just don't. That one seems like it was just done out of spite, like, oh, I could do a better comic than that. Oh, is that what he said in the Family Guy version? He said "FO." It's been years since I watched the Family Guy ones. In fact, I would love to watch those again. I wish the Family Guy would do the prequels. God, can you imagine how good the prequels would be? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ah, and then even the sequels. I don't know if Seth MacFarlane would want to waste his time doing that, but still, he could probably do a bang up job on them. I'm just amazed those shows are still going. Yeah, I actually had the opportunity to, let's see, I don't know if it was on Hulu or if it was on HBO or if it was on one of these other stations that they had like all of the Family Guy episodes that, I had the opportunity to go through and just look and see if there were any that I really wanted to watch that I'd never watched before. And I did not know that there was one where Ian McKellen played Stewie's child psychologist. And it turns out that the English accent that Stewie talks with has been an affectation all along. he actually sounds more like Peter than anybody ever knew. It's just that he never lets anyone know what his real voice sounds like. Yeah, Meg is rage so they can constantly tell her to shut up. Yeah, I can't remember what my favorite Family Guy stuff was. I do remember one joke about, hey, Meg, you remember when we told you we were going to get you a pony? Well, guess what? And then he opens the door to the closet and there's a pony skeleton in there. Oh, I guess you do have to feed it and all. Yeah, the Family Guy. One good movie to watch is that 8 Million Ways to Die in the West. That was a good movie, or 1,000 Ways to Die in the West, whatever it was called. I enjoyed that one, and I heard that Liam Neeson agreed to do it only if he didn't have to do an American accent. So they're like, "F it, why not?" Did you see the one where Stewie gets pregnant with Brian's baby? No, I didn't. Oh God. Hey, Mike, have you heard about Johnny Somali going to jail? I have, and I'm happy he's in jail. I don't even know who that is. God, I'm not gonna. Hold on a second. This is gonna be one of those things where I hope I don't wind up with a bunch of like gay porn or something. Johnny Somali. Life in jail amid South Korea trouble. Who even is this guy? He's an American live streamer and self-proclaimed internet troll known for his provocative and hostile behavior while traveling overseas. And he's a tourist in Asian countries. And for some reason he got, let's see, he was indicted for something to do with the Statue of Peace. He performed lap dances on the Statue of Peace, which represents sex slaves for Japanese soldiers. Well, that's interesting. I have no idea what that has to do with the comic book world. I would love to see, Andrew says, I would love to see Family Guy and American Dad collaborate to do a parody of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I'm afraid I had not heard of that Johnny Somali guy. He's largely a Twitch streamer, I think, but or at least he was at one time. Okay. All right. I think I've pretty much covered everything here. Thank you again, Low Watermark, for the $10 super chats. Anybody who's interested, feel free to donate. Super thanks on the 2 bribe streams. I got one up for Blood Ruth #1. If you want to see me read and review that, then that's I think there's still $97 to go on that one. No, I take that back. It's $87 to go, thanks to Low Watermark's donation today. So another $87, and I will be reviewing Blood Ruth #1. And either that, or you can earmark your money to go to Elephant #1. That's only $50 to get me to read and review that one. And I don't have any plans to do any other bribe streams in the near future, just because there's really nothing else out there. Vinsinger says, out of all honesty, Johnny Somalia has nothing to do with comics, but he is the devil. So anyway, yeah, donate to either of those if you feel like it. And we're approaching the 1 hour mark. Oh, here's a countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have satisfied the algorithm. All praise to the algorithm. Opinions on Riley versus the state of Texas court case. I don't know what the latest is on that. I know that he and Mint Salad are apparently in Texas, and he had a dinner or something in his benefit on the 14th. I think that's what happened. I don't know. I don't follow that mostly. I have no idea which way that's going to go. I'm hoping that there's no jail time or fines that come out of that. It seems kind of strange that he was even arrested in the first place. But you know, the law is what the law is, I guess. Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that. Don't know what the latest is. Don't have the prison blotter before me, unfortunately. So, okay. So, yep, we got over an hour. So, YouTube ought to be happy with that. I've just heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but in order for the algorithm to really like your live streams, they have to at least approach an hour. And if they, or exceed an hour. And if they don't, then, you know, it just kind of goes to the bottom of the queue. But, yeah, he was arrested because of prior warrants, but I thought the prior warrant had to do with what Eric July had sworn out against him. Is that did he have something else on him in Texas, or was it just I can't even believe that if you have a warrant out for you, and maybe he didn't know he had a warrant out for him in Texas. If you do have a warrant out for you in Texas, Andrew says, I hope you can be able to bring comic creator guests on your stream someday. Yeah, I know some, well, I don't know really comic creators in the industry. I know people who are connected to the comic book store scene in the DFW area, but yeah, I don't know. Heck, if I can just get a machine powerful enough to allow me to host other people, that'll be doing amazingly, you know, because then I can get some of my friends on at least. But as things go right now, I've got to look at all of the Black Friday offerings that'll be coming up in the next week or so, and see if I can take advantage of one of those. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I almost plunked down and just spent like $600 to get an HP laptop. That was a 17-inch laptop with I guess sufficient bells and whistles to probably do what I need to do for the next 5 years at least. And but I thought, I'll go ahead and I'll see if I can do more research on that, and then be ready for this for Thanksgiving, which I guess this coming weekend is not Thanksgiving. It is going to be the next weekend, so that at least gives me one more weekend to do my research. So I'm really. I've had a Dell Alienware, which has done fine, except in like the last year or so when it started to be glitching up on me. I mean, every week or every weekend when Microsoft like runs its compatibility telemetry, sometimes it shuts my computer down and almost always causes me to lose control of my built-in mouse. And so that's really annoying. And there's a lot of Dell software on it that's like support assist and all of this other junk that you really don't need. And I feel like if I go to one of the other companies, maybe it'll be less clutter on there. I don't know. I mean, HP, I would think, probably has less clutter than Dell does, and at least judging from what I'm experiencing so far. and maybe a Lenovo, maybe I don't know, whatever the other kinds are. Those are, I want to get something that is a reputable brand, but I'm really just kind of shying away from a Dell at this point. And I will definitely keep myself down to a cheap laptop just to try and make sure that, number one, it'll do what I need it to do, but it'll be the bare bones that does what I need it to do, because what I really want to do is use that as a test just to say, yes, I'm comfortable with this company's laptops. And then I can buy like the super duper model if I want to. But I'd really prefer to just have a cheapo, just for starters. And computers these days are dirt cheap if you're just getting something that's really really bare bones. All you need to do is check email and do bare bones kind of stuff. Elmi says I bought a Toshiba, but they're going downhill. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to find out from what everybody says the best brands are at this point. I'm sure I'll be reading a bunch of CNET articles and other things. Lenovo's business branding ThinkPad is probably your best bet in reliability. Possibly so. Possibly so. That's a lot of K's in your name there, Kyle Cluckin. Are you trying to tell us something? I'm just kidding. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it short here because I've still got tons of stuff to read and look at and more YouTube podcasts to suck up my time. Let me see what I've got on the podcast list. I have got the Duran with Russia's Eurasian future after the Ukraine war. Little interview there. And then Peter Zan, why Europe and China won't survive the next decade. That sounds ominous. J.D. Vance on This Past Weekend with Theo Vaughn. I'm kind of curious to see what he says there because he talks some about his upbringing and the problems of addiction in that area. And Danny Elfman, an in-depth interview with Film Music Foundation. That sounds like it'll be interesting. I've still got about 4 different podcasts by Mark Miller that I'm going to be watching. One of them's a roundtable with various comic artists, and another one, and the other 3 are with Jimmy Palmiotti, John McCrae, and Klaus Janson, who famously inked the Dark Knight series. And then I've got, oh my God, the unabridged audiobook for Outbound Flights in the Star Wars series. And, well, I'll have to wait for the Horseman Welcome to Flora Spark Chuck Dixon Q&A until after I've read the comic. And then last but not least, Stargate Universe Lost Season 3. Stargate was not a series that ever interested me until Stargate Universe came out. And then, oh my God, I was so hooked on that show. Stargate Universe, dear heaven. That show just grabbed me and did not let go. And it was good right up through the end. I was sad when the last episode played. And then they had a 4-issue miniseries in the comics that was supposed to be when it first picked up. And I never read that. I have it, but I've never read it. So I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna have to watch Stargate Universe again. And then once I'm done with that, I'll read the comic, and then I'll have to watch this video to see whether the comic matches what they were planning for season 3. So that'll be interesting. The only other show I ever read that kind of stuff for was Jericho. If you remember that show, that one starred Skeet Ulrich and Lenny James, who went on to go on The Walking Dead. And it was set in the United States where all of a sudden these nuclear bombs went off all over the country. And all of a sudden you had this town of Jericho that was cut off from the rest of the state, from the rest of the outside world practically. And they had to figure out, what do they need to do in order to survive and keep community cohesion and all that kind of stuff. And also trade with other towns and figure out whether other towns had survived. It was a really good, like, kind of post-apocalyptic kind of thing going on. And it lasted for 2 seasons. And it concluded at the end of the second season. with a decent enough conclusion. But there was more story to be done after that, and so they came out with Jericho Volume 3, Civil War, after that, and then they came out with a Jericho Season 4, and they were supposed to come out with Jericho Season 5, which would wrap up the series once and for all, and unfortunately, that didn't come out. So that was the only other like comic book adaptation where I went from the TV show into the comic books. And unfortunately, it all fizzled out before they were able to finish anything. The real nerdy review coming in to chip in his voice. Are you a clout chaser? Hell no. Yeah, I think we pretty much established that. Oh, back Xavier is coming in on the late side. What's up, Mike? Hey, yeah, we're just about wrapping up here. But basically, what I was telling everybody was, I actually felt that clout chasing temptation recently, and the reason being is because I was thinking about how few clicks I get on my reviews of just regular independent titles. If I do, like, for example, the last two that I just did have barely gotten 200 views between them. So should I go ahead and fork over the money and pay for comics like Bloodruth, which I'm just really not interested in reading? And although Load Watermark did contribute $10 toward the pot on that one, do I really want to go ahead and fork over the money for that and in the hopes of getting more clicks for my channel? And then I thought, I don't want to be doing that kind of stuff. And then I realized that's exactly what people mean by clout chasing. I mean, at that point, I'd be basically paying for clicks, because even though I'm not interested in the material that I'm reviewing, I feel like I have to go out and review it, or else, I'm going to be passed up or left behind, or I'm not going to get enough clicks for what I am interested in reviewing. But I don't want to go down that path. So, I don't think I don't feel like a clout chaser. I think I've pretty much brushed off that temptation and said, whatever happens with it. I figure, one day in the future, maybe, or like somebody said, Bloodruth will be offered for $5 on a $5 sale, and then all of a sudden I'll have money left over from the Prime stream. So never say never, but at the same time, I mean, I'm not above paying $5 for something that I could just basically take or leave, So anyway, all right. Thanks to everybody who stuck around, and everybody have a good rest of your weekend, and I will talk to y'all later.